All right, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be installing this universal electric radiator fan. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull this radiator out, install the fan, and figure out how to wire it. But I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I keep buying the cheapest parts off of eBay or Amazon straight directly from China, and I guess they just have a lot more faith in me than I have in myself, because they don't even include any instructions at all in how to make this thing work. So I need to be sure that it's sending air from the front of the radiator that way. But you can mount these things either direction. So I've got to figure out if this is a pusher or a puller, and if it's not the right one, I'm going to have to flip the fan around. So I have no idea how we're going to figure that out, but I don't know, this is kind of fun. I may just do this for another 30 minutes before I get started. If I can get this done and figured out and installed, then all I really have to do is install the drive shaft, and we can drive this thing out of the shop. It's pouring down rain today, so I don't know if we'll get it done or not, but we're about to find out. Wish me luck. First thing we got to do, I got to take these little hose clamps off and my radiator hoses and bust this bad boy loose. Fortunately, I just painted this core support black, so the radiator's not bolted in, so it shouldn't take much to get her out of here. It is full of coolant though, so it may be a little heavier than it should be. May have to get a little bit longer screwdriver here. This ought to do the trick. Well, okay, I learned something new today, that when your radiator's full of coolant and you unhook the hose, it pours out all over the floor. Idiot. Ding dong. So she's gonna fit somewhere like this. But like I said, I don't really know which direction this fan is going. So I may have to try to figure out how to wire this thing up before I install it and see which way it's spinning. I don't know. So for whatever reason, when they send you this kit, they go ahead and pre-wire a little pigtail on the end of this, but they don't send you the other end to wire it into the truck. And I could not find this part, this clip, anywhere in a hardware store or anything like that. So I just got a little 2-wire connector, male and female. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this off, wire this on, and I may just see if I can connect this to the battery or something and see if that would maybe kick it on so I can see which way it's spinning. Of course, they got their dang child-proof packaging again. Say goodbye. Goodbye. So now we're just going to use our handy dandy butt splicers and connect these together, see if we can make it run. Butt splicers, could they not have come up with a better name? We got a black wire and a blue wire. Now with no instructions, I'm only left to assume that the black is the ground and the blue is the hot. So I'm just going to connect black to black and red to blue. So like I said, I have no idea which direction this thing turns. So what I've got going here is I just plugged the connector in, got the little hot wire exposed. Sorry for the noise, it is pouring down rain. And then I just connected this to the ground. I'm just going to touch it to the battery and see if we can figure out which way this goes. All right, let's see if this works. Whoa, okay, it works. All right, so I figured out which way it's spinning, but now I'm trying to figure out which way it's pushing the air. So I'm gonna bump it again and I'm gonna see if I can feel any wind come out of here. Okay, yeah, it's definitely, the air is going that way. So, it's gonna mount. Oh, we're golden. That's exactly what we need. Perfect. So I don't have to change anything. It's wired up correctly. Fans go in the right direction. I think we slap this bad boy on and fill her back full of coolant. They sent us these little zip ties here, so I think I just poke a zip tie through this bracket, put a little foam pad under it, and it should just come out the other side, and it's got these little plastic disc here. So we'll see if that works. I'm gonna do this without pouring the rest of the coolant out. Let's see if this will work. All right, we got all the excess trimmed off. She is mounted on there as good as she's gonna be. Now to figure out how to wire this thing up. Everything's gonna run through this little relay right here that's gonna help us to carry the power all the way through this system to run this fan. So basically, my blue and my black wire is gonna be my fan power and my ground. So that's gonna hook up to our plug here that we just put on. And then I've got a 12-volt ignition wire that's going to make sure that this thing only has power when the key is on. And then let's see, we've got, I already said, the ground that's also going to run to our 175, 185 temperature switch. So basically, this is going to read the temperature of the engine, and once it gets above a certain temperature, it's going to kick the fan on. But once it cools back down below, I guess 175, it's gonna break the ground and turn the fan off. So I got to hook that into the block. Here we just have a simple circuit breaker, and I'm just gonna run this 12-volt red battery wire through both sides of this breaker, so that if something doesn't work right, it's just gonna break the circuit here, which is just a little bit, I guess, safer, different than a fuse, which we have in here. So we're going to have a fuse and a circuit breaker on this battery line. So we'll run straight through this breaker line and into the battery terminal. I think I'm just going to run it into the one on the ignition switch, so everything will be there together. So I think if I can get all that hooked together right, that should work. I'm going to go ahead and mount this plug here and go ahead and put this circuit breaker in this battery line right where it sits, and then I'm going to try to do the rest on the engine. All right, so before we go any further, I guess I need to get these trans lines cut and flared so that when I do drop the radiator in, they won't be hard to get to. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark these. I'm gonna try to just cut them and flare them right where they are without having to take them loose from the transmission. That way, when I drop the radiator in, all I gotta do, hook those lines up and wire the thing up, and hopefully it'll work. Here we got a little handy dandy tubing bender. Never used one of these before, so let's see how it works. I think you just slide the deal right in here and then bend it to whatever angle you need it to be. I think I ruined this one. I think I took her a little too far, so I'm gonna try to cut her off there, and hopefully I have enough to still connect it. All right, so it's been several days now. Sorry, I've had 100 things going, but we've got the trans lines kind of bent to the right place. Looks like crap, to be honest, but should get us close enough. When I cut one of the trans lines, the transcooler lines, I didn't have like a right angle, I guess. I kind of just cut it with a, well, you saw me cut it. Anyway, I cut it at an angle. And when I lift it up and put the little doodad that screws into the end of it, I don't know any of the words. Anyway, there's a little bit of it that's kind of sticking out. So fingers crossed that it doesn't leak. I may throw a little thread tape on there and hope for the best, but I may end up having to pull all this out and recut that line and reflare it and all of that later. But I'm not gonna do that right now because I'm so excited to get this radiator in and wrap this video up for you guys and hopefully be able to run this thing and let it idle and tune on it and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop the radiator back in and connect the trans lines. The fan is connected but not wired yet. I think I know how to wire it up. So anyway, let's drop this thing in. Sometimes you just need to lubricate the hoses, right? So you could use petroleum jelly, whatever you happen to have laying around. Is some Rocasa all natural lubrication. I just had it laying around. So you just apply a little generous amount to the inside and outside, wherever you can get it. And you now can slide it right on. It's a little awkward, I know, but it works. You got everything in now. It's looking pretty good. So here's my wiring pigtail, which I'm gonna lay right over here. And I'll connect this cable to that, which runs to our relay. And let's see, this red wire is going to go to the battery and to the circuit breaker, which is right here. So we'll just wire that directly into this line, so it'll have to run through that. Let's see here. This black is going to be our ground, and it's going to also run through our temperature switch, which I'm just going to replace that right there and then just pigtail this into it. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but we're going to find out. So I've kind of ran out of wire here. I've got a little wire, but it's a little too small, but I'm not going to chance it. Let me turn the camera around here for you. So I decided to run my pigtail around this way. I'm going to unhook this radiator and slide that down. There's a couple little keepers under there. Of course, I'll put a little loom here. It'll run through here. It's going to go to our fuse panel here. Not our fuse panel, relay here. Got that a little bit tight right there. I may have to fix that. Anyway, I'll figure out some way to secure that. All this is going to go together here through our circuit breaker, and these are going to run into the cab there and go into the ignition switch for the battery power and the ignition power. And then I think I'm going to take our breaker, because I've got to get over here to the engine block, and I don't want to just jump a wire across there to look kind of funny. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run our ground wire all the way through here and up over the engine, and then drop it down in like this one is to right there. I think that'll probably look the best. But for now, since I don't have the right wire, I am going to put some coolant in here and let the thing run a little bit. I also need to add a little transmission fluid because pretty sure most of that has leaked out on the ground. I haven't ran this thing in a while and I just missed the sound of it. So that's what I'm gonna do for now. So we're gonna add a little transmission fluid. I have no idea how much is in here. I would say that it's probably gonna be low. Let's find out. Definitely some in it. So let's try her again. I guess we're pretty good, actually. We're kind of right in where we need to be. Vehicle level trends must be, okay, do not overfill. I don't think I'm going to add any. I think we're okay. Get in there. Ugh. Okay, I can't get it in. I guess I might as well check the engine oil level while I'm here. Ugh. Oh, I think we are dangerously low on the engine oil, so I'm going to go ahead and add some. I'm trying to get most of it into the engine. Oh, we need to add a little bit of coolant now. Almost forgot that. Don't make me Google how to remove coolant cap. What the crap? Okay. She ain't quite broke in yet. That's a brand new cap, so it ain't my fault. What y'all? Got the dogs fired up. Alright, let's see if I can do this. Oh man, didn't spill a drop. Coolant added, transmission fill was good, oil, we added a little bit of that. I'm just gonna hook up this battery cable and let it run for a second. We got bad news. Well, that's not what I wanted to see. Apparently, my transfill fittings did not seal, and they're just spewing transmission fluid all over the ground. So we're not as far along as I had hoped. So now I'm just going to check that out. So I'm going to mess around with some of this wiring now for a minute. I had a few minutes before my next work appointment. So I'm going to hook up this battery cable. Basically, what we've got to do is we've got to figure out how to hook up this ignition wire and this battery wire. So in this wiring harness that I got, there were two wires inside here. One of them's labeled fan power and one of them's labeled fan. So I need to see which one of these is going to have power when the key is on. This fan power is run into the fuse panel, and I know the only chance that we have for it to have ignition power is this one, because the fan one is just run through the firewall. So I'm just going to make sure that this is a key on only power, and if so, this will be our ignition wire. So let's see, I've got a little test light here. I'm just going to test this and see if we got no power with the key off. But then let me turn the key. All right, key's on now. Whoop, sorry. Now let me test this thing. Okay, so we do have power with key on the fan power wire. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the fan power wire through the firewall here and go ahead and connect it to our ignition wire. This is our fan wire that's not connected to anything. So we've got our circuit breaker here, and I'm just going to go ahead and use this connector and hook that up to that. That's going to get us into the cab, and we'll hook this up to 12-volt battery power. All right, so this is our wire that's connected to the circuit breaker, and we got to find the battery hot wire, which I've already traced down. I know this is such a mess right here. I've got so much cleaning up to do. But this brown wire right here is battery power to the ignition switch. So I think I'm just gonna make sure the battery is disconnected. I'm gonna cut into this and splice this gray wire right into here like that. And that should give us power. Then all that'll be left to do is to hook up the ground. All right, so now that power's hooked up, I just want to test and make sure she's going to work. Obviously, it's not running through the temperature switch yet, but I just want to make sure the fan's working. So let's turn the key on. Here our beautiful temporary platform for our air compressor rattling. And let's see if we got any fanage. Oh yeah, she's blowing. She's blowing good. We got engine coolage. Now all I got to do is regulate the temperature. Okay, so last but definitely not least is going to be our ground. So coming out of our relay here, going into our fan is this black ground wire. Already got it grounded out here to the core support. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie into this here, and this is basically going to be our temperature sender, I guess, that's going to go all the way around here, tie in under here, follow the wires up the engine bay here, and come out right here into this guy. I'm gonna replace this temperature sender with the one that came with this kit, because it's controlled by certain temperatures, and I don't really know what that one does. And got me a new fitting here that's a little bit better than this weird old school slip-on one anyway. I think I'm doing this right. If you guys know what you're doing, let me know in the comments if I screw it up. But hopefully this works. That's what happens when you drop a whole spool of wire down into the engine bay. You gotta fish it out and it gets all tangled up. Alright, so now I just gotta get this bad boy out of there. No idea how hard that's about to be. Oh, not too bad. Okay, that looks better. I'm gonna put a little thread tape on there just because that's what they did. Put her back in. All right, so now I got to just splice in my engine tip sender that goes to the gauges into this wire and plug it in to the sending unit here. All right, so we got that hooked up. I wonder now if we turn the key on, I just got to connect the battery, but I wonder if we turn the key on now, if the fan is still going to kick on, or how that temperature switch works. I don't think it should kick on. I think it should stay off until the engine gets to a certain temperature. So maybe that'll be our telltale sign whether or not this thing has worked. I can't really start it and let it run yet because I got to recut those trans lines. So key on. Man, I hope this thing's not running. Let's see. Crap, it is running. So I don't know if that worked or not. Interesting. I guess we'll have to wait and see after I get these trans lines fixed. Not going to be able to do that right now, but stay tuned. Well, the tranny lines were leaking tranny fluid because I cut them with an angle grinder and I didn't really know how to flare them that good. So I went and bought a little mini tubing cutter. I'm gonna try to get a little straighter cut on them. I think I cut them at a little bit of an angle and then see if I can get a better flare. Hopefully I can make that not leak, because then I can go ahead and start and run the truck. So I'm gonna crawl in here and see if I can make a better cut. All right, so last night I was so eager to get this thing figured out. I stayed up until midnight out here tracking down wiring issue, tracking down the reason this radiator transcooler was leaking. And let me just show you something here. You can see this little brass piece right here. I didn't know that I didn't have that piece. And my grandfather-in-law, Jimmy, he come down and he's like, no, you're supposed to have some kind of fitting in between there that the flare butts up to. And we looked all over between my shop and his shop, and I had another 4L60E transmission that I wasn't using, and it had these brass fittings in there that actually, you know, would attach over here, but they worked right there, and the thing doesn't leak anymore. So we got transmission fluid pumping good. And whenever I was trying to figure out why the radiator fan was coming on when I turned the key on, I had crossed a couple wires up, seeing if I had it wired wrong, and I blew 2 fuses. I was able to find the first fuse really easy, but I forgot that there was another fuse that was up buried in the dash, and it took me forever, but I found that. So now we should be able to run without burning anything up. One other thing I did last night was I installed the drive shaft. So that is amazing because now I think we're going to get to take our first drive. So before I drive this thing, I've got it up on jack stands so the tires are not on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and start it, put it into gear, make sure everything's turning right, make sure it doesn't try to run off on me. And if everything looks good, it goes through all the gears and reverse and stuff like that, we're going driving. Ah! All right, let's fire it up and see what we got. Don't tell me I got a weak battery. No way. After all that. Alrighty, we got her charging up here for a second. Gonna let her get a little juice, and then we're gonna be headed out that way. Alright, I've given her a few minutes to charge. Let's see if by chance she'll cooperate with me now. Still too weak. Nothing. I cannot believe it. All right, I let this thing charge for a couple hours. So now let's see if she'll start up. The problem I'm having here is it'll go into gear, but it's like the gear shifter won't shift the truck into park. It'll stop in reverse. So then I had to undo the transmission tunnel and reach down and manually pull the gear selector up to park. So I may have to do some tweaking on the gear selector. Also, there's no neutral safety switch, so this thing will start and spin in any gear. So it's kind of dangerous. So I'm gonna pull it up the driveway, but then I'm gonna come put her back on jack stands again, just so I don't actually start this thing and drive it through the wall until I figure it out. So anyway, I'm gonna set this thing down and we're going for our first drive. I cannot believe the battery is dead again. All right, we're gonna try this one more time. I got all the fluids topped off. The battery is hopefully charged up. I don't know. I'm gonna just hook it up real quick and see if I can drive it up the driveway. Cross your fingers, please. I don't know, it seemed like we didn't have any brakes and this sucker was trying to drive away from me. Okay, I'll be honest, I got scared. That thing jumped. I tried to hit the brakes and it didn't want to stop. Having trouble with the shifter linkage. It doesn't want to go all the way up into park. It wants to start in reverse, and I have to just like reach through the floor and manually put it into park. So it's really sketchy right now, but I really want to drive it. I think I'm going to try one more time. Uh-oh, he died. Oh yeah, baby. First drive. This is awesome. Turned out pretty cool. The air ride is leaking down on the front end, so I was rubbing as I was trying to turn. I got to fix some fittings. But that was the first drive. Let me know what you guys think. Still got a long way to go, but it's a big progress.